Welcome back to La Coalición podcast. We are in sunny Moreno Valley with a packed studio audience. Yeah.
Hello, everybody.
I'm Hector.
I'm Eddie.
I'm Yasmin.
I'm Ben.
And the gang's all back together. We said that we were going to come back with Pina Kamal as our producer. Tamara came through for us, and we are enjoying.
And Yas.
Yeah, and Yaz made them.
Shout out to the bartender.
Shout out to the bartender. Yaz made them. Enjoying Pina Kamalas, and we're going to talk about the DNC. It just took place last week. This is Monday, recording of this podcast, and we're just going to break down everything that happened last week. But just to start on like a fun, light level, if you had to describe this year's DNC with a song, what song would it be? And we can start with you, Ben.
The only one I can think of is Rancid's I Want to Riot.
I Want to Riot?
I Want to Riot,
Okay.
yeah.
Nice. I've never heard that
I
song.
was in the DNC in 2000, and we had a great riot that year.
Yes.
I was thinking National Anthem by Lana Del Rey. Just because they were obsessed with chanting USA and
Yeah.
all that. And their outfits. It was just giving National Anthem.
Yeah.
So that's my
Okay.
answer.
Awesome.
Vibes.
Eddie.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Hello.
That's a good one.
Who sings that? I know that's from The Graduate, but who performs that song?
No, the original song, and Ben, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's I've Come to Talk to With You. It's Sigmund Freud? I don't know.
No,
No?
Simon and
Garfunkel.
Simon and Garfunkel.
And it's the sound of silence.
That
Mhm.
one. Yeah.
Got it. I just know the song from The Graduate, but that's my only reference, right? I chose "It's the End of the World as We Know It" by REM, just because
I was thinking
we'll
of that
talk
one
about
too.
this a little later, but how different this DNC was for the Democratic Party from past years. I mean, we'll get into that after. But anyways, so the DNC just took place. The Democratic Party has officially nominated Kamala Harris as their candidate for President of the United States. What was one of your favorite moments? Let's start with we'll do favorite and least favorite moments. Let's start with the favorite moments to start with the positive. Ben, what was your favorite moment of the week?
Well, I have my eyes on the outside, not on the inside so much. So my favorite moment was on Tuesday night when a lot of protesters were outside the Israeli consulate. Police tried to control them and were basically unable to for several hours.
Yes.
Favorite moment? I thought it was funny during Oprah's speech when they like panned the camera to the lady when they said what was it?
The childless cat lady.
childless cat lady. That was so uncalled for.
And she
like-
is a cat lady. Did you see her?
No.
Yeah, she tweeted. She's like, yeah. I mean, she was uncomfortable when the camera
And
turned to
she
her, but she
literally
is a
turned
cat
around.
lady.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was funny.
I love that. Okay, that was one of my favorite moments too. Eddie, what was one of your favorite moments?
Seeing Democracy Now!, the cast of it, I haven't really kept up with them since college, so it's
Mhm.
been quite a while since I've listened to anything of Democracy Now!, but they were a pretty big influence in my political understanding of the world, so it was really nice seeing them.
Nice. My favorite moment was Gus Walz like crying throughout all of Governor Walz's speech. Gus Walz, for the audience who may not know, is Governor Walz's son. Well, I think he has like a learning disability or something like that. But just crying from the beginning of the speech to the end of the speech. I was watching it with my boyfriend who was over there, and he turned around. He's like, "Why are you crying?" Because I was like unconsolably crying with Gus Walz the whole time. It was so sad. Not sad, but it was like emotional to see him react that way to his dad. So that was one of my favorite moments. Another one was Governor Westmore of Maryland. He gave a speech. I think it was on Tuesday or on Wednesday. And I think he talked about immigration in a better way than we heard it talked about the whole week. Certainly not the kind of way we would talk about immigration, but definitely better than the way all the other Democrats were talking about it. I mean, the workers who died when the bridge collapsed in Baltimore were immigrant workers, all Latinx workers, and just the way he like humanized their experience and talking about like, they were out there working in the middle of the night where all of us were sleeping because they understood the struggle that it is to be an immigrant in this country and all of that. I thought it was a more positive way of speaking of immigration. Probably the best way in which they spoke of immigration that whole week, because there's some really bad language coming out of the DNC that week. But yeah, that was my favorite moment. Highlights.
Low moment.
What?
Low moments.
Low moments. There was a lot, so I don't know if I can pinpoint a low moment. Some of the speeches, they're not low moments. They were just kind of like lackluster speeches. I think President Obama and Michelle Obama are like one of the most gifted orators in like American politics and American history. The speeches this year I thought were like they're fine. I liked Michelle Obama's when she said, someone should tell Donald Trump that one of those black jobs might be president of the United States. I thought that was a cool moment. And then the crowd size with President Obama kind of dogging Trump about his obsession with crowd sizes. But overall, I thought all of the speeches were kind of just lackluster. Nothing really stood out to me. I don't think we had that like Obama at what convention was it, like the 2004 convention, sorry. I don't think we had like that moment I know they had like AOC coming out to speak, Jasmine Crocker, congresswoman for Texas, a lot of rising star Democrats. I don't think they had that moment though, so maybe that would be like one of my low moments for the convention. But highlights, what were some of all of your highlights for the week overall? Eddie, you can start us off.
Man, highlights. We haven't really talked about this since our last episode, but we were almost correct on picking Tim Walz as the VP. Remember, I think one of us, I don't know if it was you or me.
Someone brought it up because I didn't.
Yeah,
list him,
yeah.
brought it up, yeah.
I might have been myself then because I think we were going back and forth on who would have been the VP.
Mm-hmm.
Highlights. Are we talking lowlights or also highlight positive or negative?
You can make it positive.
Whatever.
Negative,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. So I mentioned it earlier before we started rolling. I think if you watch Stormtroopers back in the day, I think if you watch the last Alien movie that came out, I just saw it yesterday, by the way, really great movie. The DNC gave me a really dystopian vibe from the aesthetics, from how the stage was set up, Kamala's suit, the USA chants really freaked me out. But it was a good gut check and a good reality check just to understand where we're at currently with the two parties. And I think a lot of people are feeling the way I'm feeling, but there's a lot more people that are feeling like they wanted to be a part of this situation, this party where they can follow Kamala into victory. And for me, that's very scary in the position that I think the majority of liberals are in this country. Feeling so attached to this candidate that doesn't profess anything policy-wise. It's a lot more intersectionality, and what you see is what you get. But when have they talked about policy in a substantial way in the DNC? They haven't at all. For those 4 days, it was pretty much Trump is bad, we're better, and his dick is small. You know what I mean? Like it was funny. I'll give him that. But at the same time, like we're fighting for our communities that are being deported, arrested, hurt, violence against them. So I feel like it was a lot more of a wake up call than anything. And I did appreciate, like I mentioned, Democracy Now, having that amazing analysis towards the end, and just a very sobering reflection on how the state of the country is moving into a much more right-wing, central right-wing political sphere. And we, as ICIJ, as Eddie personally, are trying to combat that as much as we can.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, I feel like we need to talk about that more because,
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I feel like watching a bunch of, like, people that work for Trump doing speeches at the convention, too, like, you could just tell that, like, there's a shift happening right now where, like, the Democratic Party is no longer, like, seen as, like, liberal, left. Like, we're seeing a lot of conservative views, especially when it comes to immigration. Like, I feel like they kept talking about, like, Kamala, like, as a prosecutor. And, like, that's just crazy because back then it's, like, she wanted to shy away from that background that she had. And now they're, like, kind of obsessed over it and kind of shifting the narrative of, like, oh, like, she's protecting children and all this stuff. But it's, like, okay, is she really, though? Like, when we're talking about immigration, when we're talking about Gaza, like, all these things, I feel like, I don't know. It's just scary. Honestly, it was kind of scary, like, watching everything. Just seeing, like, a shift happening and people just being kind of obsessed over the fact that she's a woman of color. I just feel like the face of imperialism is changing. It's not, like, a white man anymore. Like, there's a shift happening, and I feel like we kind of need to, like, be conscious of it. And I speak for my younger generations because I see a lot of people kind of getting really into this Kamala movement, and like it's just so complicated. It's so, like, I don't know. I need a drink. I need a drink.
Yes.
I
Yes.
don't know. Like it's just it felt like I was watching the Oscars, low key. It felt like I was watching the Grammys. Like great production. But it just felt like more like a movie, more like a I don't know.
I would rather watch the Oscars.
I that's one thing that I've definitely caught on. I think that the campaign, it's like as a machine, is running really smoothly, right? I think that they've done a good job of catching on to the vibes online. I think they're really in tune with what's going on, and that scares me because they're getting more sophisticated. It's like AI is now working with the DNC, with the Democratic Party, and they're just blending everything so well. But if people that are like on this side, we can kind of see through the bullshit, right? But as a whole, as what the package that they're presenting, it's a beautiful package. It's just nasty inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the point of highlighting her being a prosecutor, right? You set up the contracts between the prosecutor and the felon, and they've used that a lot, and to rhetorical effect, a great effect.
And it works, at least for the electorate that they're going for right now.
Yeah, it does. I mean, they're they're pandering to the middle, to the ill-informed, to the TV watcher, and that's obviously not us. I think to Eddie's point, it's clear that it's propaganda, and that's what's funny about the memes, right? They're like making it, they're highlighting the irony of like AOC saying she's working diligently every day for a ceasefire, and
You are the fire. Like
exactly.
when they said that for Kamala,
My
I'm like,
sister in
yeah.
Christ.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, on a lighter note, one of my highlights was the roll call. I thought the roll call was really fun. Like roll calls are usually like super boring processes, at least in the past couple of decades, because we haven't had contentious conventions like candidates that are, we don't know who the nominee is gonna be when on the week of the convention. This year I think it was fun. Like it was kind of like shepherded by DJ Cassidy, who's like pretty famous DJ. He DJ'd Beyonce and Jay-Z's wedding. They had like a thoughtful song for each state and territory. So I thought that was cool. California went last because obviously Harris's home state. They did like 4 songs for California. So I mean, I thought that Lil Jon came out to present Georgia's delegation. So I thought the roll call was fun and a good. There's a beetle.
It's a June bug.
Okay. And a good way of getting people like tuning in and stuff. I mean, I thought that it's on a lighter note, but I thought that was fun. But we can get away from the lighter notes and we can talk about the actual.
We're trying to keep
substance.
it light, okay? We really are. We're
Yeah.
trying. These
It's
drinks
difficult to
are
balance.
supposed to keep it
They're
light.
not
but
making
it's
it
just-
easier.
Well, they
for
didn't
us.
talk
It's
about
so
policy. Why should we?
Okay. But then let's get into it. Let's get into actual substance. Ben, if you had to give us right now, you're on CNN, you are a pundit, a political pundit on national TV. If you had to give us a breakdown on your reaction for Kamala Harris's speech, what is that reaction?
I didn't watch it. I don't watch that stuff. It's propaganda. I'm not gonna believe it. I'm not gonna buy it. And so I didn't watch it. I was, like I said, I was much more focused on what was going on outside, on the uncommitted movement. They were upset that they didn't have a choice for a candidate that was not going to support genocide. And it was very inspirational what they did. They launched a nationwide movement that said, no, we don't want one more bomb. And they were struggling, just a very deep-rooted struggle to get one speaker, a doctor, somebody that had been to Gaza, an elected official from Palestinian origin, or from the Muslim community. And they just got shut out. And meanwhile, they're having hostage families, and everybody else across the spectrum, supposedly in this big tent Democratic Party, and they don't have room for one Palestinian voice.
Yeah.
It really speaks a lot about democracy, entre comillas, or the lack of it. And that's my takeaway.
And I think, do you know that person's name? I'm forgetting the person's
The
name.
sister from Georgia?
Yes.
I don't know, but I can
They're a
find it.
lawmaker from Georgia. I think they're part of the
Yeah.
state house in Georgia, who had like their speech drafted and everything, and had a slot approved to speak. And then once the party read the speech, or the party operatives read the speech, they had denied them the slot to speak.
I will point out, though, that the one person that was able to get on stage wearing a keffiyeh, speaking from an interfaith perspective, was Tahil Sharma from Claremont, who is deeply rooted in interfaith work, and he represented for our area. So I had to give him that.
Yep. Yasmin, what say you? What was your reaction to Harris's speech?
I don't know. I mean, I just feel like she's trying to like sell to the right wing. Like she's really trying to sell herself, and it's just very like unauthentic. It's very like, I don't know, like she's not truly showing what she's going to do for our country or what policies she's going to do. It was just, I don't know, like kind of boring. Like
It was a
Yeah.
really
It
short
was-
speech
Yeah.
yeah.
compared to Trump's like 3-hour speech.
Yeah, I kind of expected more. I
Okay.
feel like other speeches were better, low key. Like
yeah.
I feel like the Obama speeches were more, I don't know, enthusiastic. I mean, she's very enthusiastic, and the crowd was crazy for her, but yeah, I just expected more.
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying. I was I think I saw it on CNN Live, and then after they did the coverage, they had a focus group of undecided voters that were watching the speech live, and they went back to them and they asked, what did the speech do for you? Did it make you change your mind or anything? And what a lot of them were saying was that it just lacked any real conversation of policy. Like there's conversations about all of these things, but not any actual policy proposals for each of those things.
I think
Which I understood. I understood and I agreed with. What I didn't agree with is like then they say that's why I'm going for Trump, which is like
Oh.
how can your
Yeah.
criticism be that there's no substance and no policy and that's why you're voting for Trump? Like it doesn't really make any sense to me. But you go ahead, Ben. Go
it's a
ahead.
little bit backwards, yeah.
Yeah,
But I think what I've been reading is that she's trying to remain a blank slate, and so that allows the voters to project
something
whatever they want their
The Jew
image
bug
of her to
almost
be.
took out our producer.
There's a Jew bug that's terrorizing the set of La Coalición right now, and it almost made Daniel dive into the pool that's behind us.
It wants a piece of these pina camalas.
Sorry, Ben, I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
it's yeah. So it's also an element of political strategy on the part of the Democratic Party to, don't say too much and let the people believe whatever they want to believe. Because if they want to believe something positive, if you say the wrong thing, then they're gonna turn the other way.
Yeah, no, exactly. Eddie, what was your your reaction to the speech?
Yeah, I think Ben's last point pretty much sums it up. I felt like I was left wanting a lot more. Not that I was expecting a lot, but just in terms of this is your grand moment to step into the limelight and own it, I felt like she didn't really do that. But again, probably because of strategy and not to say too much. And it's funny because, 4 years ago, everybody was talking about health for all. And we were talking about substantial transformative policies
Yeah.
and you didn't
Immigration
hear
reform.
immigration reform. You didn't hear an ounce of anything substantive.
Dreamers and undocumented
Yeah.
people on
Mhm.
the convention stage talking about their experience and how dangerous the Trump era policies were.
And it's just so night and day from where we were 4 years ago
Yep.
that I feel like where has the time gone, first
Yeah.
of all, right? It doesn't feel like it's been that far away between 2020 and now. But politically speaking, the party has shifted very dramatically. And if this is the president of the country for the foreseeable future, there are going to be a lot of things that are going to go wrong in the immigrant community, first of all, in terms of funding to the Border Patrol, funding for ICE, more incarceration. They're echoing those same talking points from Trump, from the right wing around mass deportation, very, very xenophobic language coming from the Democrats. So from an immigrant rights perspective, yes, we're going to have to work with what we got, and that's just the truth of it. But at the same time, it's very daunting and very disappointing to see that this is what we do have. And it's also very disappointing as well that, I don't know, maybe I'll hold back a little bit on calling out organizations. But it's disappointing that other organizations are latching on to this train, this Kamala train, without anything substantive coming back to the immigrant and Latino community.
Or even
Okay.
labor.
Endorsing, yeah, exactly. Labor endorsing, immigrant rights orgs endorsing Kamala without anything coming back. Affirmative saying we're going to do this, we're going to codify, a path to citizenship, lo que sea, anything.
Yeah.
We haven't heard any single promise coming down the pipeline. So what was it for? What was
Yeah.
it for selling out your community?
Yeah. No, definitely.
I think I want to add to that and just say that, like, I feel like right now everyone's just focused on, like, making sure there's not another, like, Trump presidency. And it's like now is a time where we can actually ask for what we want for our communities, like, from her. And people are kind of like saying like, well, do you want Trump to become president again? Like, that's why you're not going to vote for Kamala. And it's like, no, like, if she's running for president, shouldn't we ask for what we want? Shouldn't we be vocalizing what we want? Like, she shouldn't be taking it so personally. Like, when she said, like, now let me speak. Like, when it comes to all of this, I just feel like and everyone else, I don't know why people are kind of like just being blindsided by this and saying, like, well, it's kind of like the lesser of two evils, but it's like not really. Like, to me, they're both evil. But I just feel like now is when we can apply that pressure and like get something out of this. Like, this is the perfect time. She needs the votes. But right
she
now
doesn't have a policy yet.
yes, and it's like she's just focused on like getting the conservatives and the people who are undecided, and I'm just, I don't know.
Yeah, so I share a lot of the criticisms that you guys had about the speech. I think it's maybe my campaign mind that makes me think about not what I'm agreeing with, but what I know the projected electorate is going to be agreeing with. And with that kind of mindset, when I was watching it, I overall thought it was a powerful speech. I thought it was successful in that it accomplished what it needed to accomplish. I think Kamala Harris needed to thread not one very fine needle, but multiple very fine needles. And I think she did a good job at doing it, at least for what would satisfy the kind of voter that they need for their path to victory. I think needle number one was that she needed to distance herself as much as she can from the image of President Biden and the Biden administration. I think as much as there may be many good accomplishments, many bad things too, but many accomplishments from the administration, that's not the way it's perceived by the overall American electorate right now. And so she needed to find a way to talk about the good things and distance herself from the bad things. And I think she was successful at that. I think she talked about, the cap on insulin, the infrastructure bill, and all of those things in a successful way without having to talk about President Biden and all of the record of the Biden administration. I think needle two was that she needed to show herself as a strong and powerful leader. She needed to calm the nerves of a lot of people who don't think of women as strong leaders, especially in the global arena. I think the foreign policy segment, which is usually the most boring segment of speeches for me at least, because I'm not really into a lot of foreign policy stuff. I thought that it was really, engaging and impactful. She was really strong. There was that line that she said something like, as commander-in-chief, I will ensure that we have the strongest,
The most
the most lethal. Yeah, which made me cringe. I was cringing. And I saw reporting that members of her family held their applause. The cameras were on there the whole time, and when she said the most lethal, they held their applause while the rest of the convention.
Shout out to her dad.
He wasn't there, right?
No.
That wasn't anything. We'll talk about the dad.
I talked about him at the last one.
We'll talk about it.
I talked about him at the last episode. It's okay.
But I think the way in which she spoke about that is what a lot of independent voters, Republican-leaning voters, would like to hear.
A lot of liberals too.
Yeah, and liberals too. You're right. So and that's what I say. I think it accomplished what she needed to accomplish for the kind of voter she needs to bring in.
It's okay. We're slowly radicalizing Hector. It's a long process, guys. Just give us another year or so.
Yeah,
he will be sitting on that side of the couch, on the left
far
of Ben,
left,
on the left of Ben.
And then the third needle. I mean, she needed to bridge a gap between the biggest divide that's in the Democratic Party right now, which is the war in Gaza. To me, that was probably my least favorite moment of the convention. The way in which she reaffirmed her support for the Israeli government and how the convention floor roared and clapped, they made my heart sink. I was sitting there, and I think what she was trying to do was move away from it being a false choice between we can support the state of Israel and their ability to defend themselves while also acknowledging the suffering that's happening in Gaza. To me, those are not two things that are compatible. And I don't think that those are two things that you can make compatible. But at least for the kind of voter that she needs, I think that was the way in which she spoke about it was sufficient for them. I think it satisfied their qualms over that. So I think she was able to thread that. And then lastly, the conversation about policy. I agree too that she didn't really go in depth. She needs no help talking about abortion rights, reproductive rights. That's something she does very well. She's very natural at the whole Trump stuff too, prosecuting the case against him. I think that's something that she does very well too. it was the economy and immigration that she really needed to go out there, because those are the biggest criticisms of the Biden administration. She really needed to go out there and talk about it in a way that's appealing both to Democrats that she needs to keep, and in a way that's palatable to all of the independent, never Trumpers, right-leaning voters that she needs to bring in. To me, it wasn't enough, especially the immigration part. I thought it was that whole bringing up the Senate bill that failed over and over again. She said that she vows to sign it if it comes before her again. I thought that was horrible. I thought, like you were saying, such a night and day difference in 2020, where we saw dreamers, undocumented people take the convention stage to talk about their experiences being an immigrant in this country. Far from that this year. None of that was going on this year. You just saw people talking about the failed border bill and how they wish they can be so much stronger, but they couldn't because the Republicans think that, you know. But at least in terms of what she needed to accomplish for the kind of voters she needs to bring in, I thought she was successful at threading those fine needles. And overall, I thought it was a pretty good speech. One of the things that I was kind of like, and this goes into my main takeaways, we're going to talk about our takeaways over the whole overall week, was just kind of what the Democratic Party has become in such short time. I think the Harris campaign has obviously figured out a way to talk about race and gender, and that's informed by everything they learned from President Obama's campaign and Hillary Clinton's campaign. And to me, one of my biggest takeaways, we're going to go into talking about our takeaways for the whole week, was just how vastly different the Democratic Party is and what the party's become in this short amount of time. The Harris campaign has figured out a way to talk about race and gender without actually oh my god.
Oh, it's on your ear. It's on your ear, Ben.
No.
That's so funny.
Watch, now I'm going to be a meme.
Told you it was a drone. I
Oh
told
my
you.
god, that Mike Pence when the vice president debate in 2020 when the fly lands on his hair.
Oh,
That's gonna be
I was
bad
thinking
right
more
now.
like a Blue Beetle, like a Chicano superhero meme, but it's okay.
oh,
my God.
okay.
Okay, we can like have that bloopers and cut it out. So I'll start again.
I want to see that on the podcast. That'd be funny.
Okay. Bloopers. And that takes me to my key takeaway for the whole week. And we'll get into all of our takeaways for the week. But for me, at least, is the way in which the Harris campaign has decided they're going to talk about race and gender, largely informed by what they learned from President Obama's tenure, from Hillary Clinton's campaign. And I just think they got the wrong lesson. Like, for me, the lesson would have been just go harder. Talk about what it is to be a black person in America. Talk about what it is to be a woman in America. And it's just a complete opposite lesson. The whole week I was just thinking, like, might be getting ready to elect the first woman president of the United States and the first black woman at that, And it doesn't seem to be the center of celebration for a lot of the conversations that were going on last week. And it's mindful, because they've learned that with President Obama, in the times that, at the beginning he was very uncomfortable talking about his race in a way that he thought would resonate with the larger electorate. Later on into his presidency, you're able to see him talk about it in a way that's more comfortable. And Hillary Clinton the same. All of the really misogynistic things that were coming against her at that time, part of other things, but mostly the misogynistic stuff, they just kind of learned that you just should not talk about it as overtly. Don't put it at the center of your campaign because it's not going to resonate with the rest of the electorate. And in the beginning of her speech, where she's talking about growing up and who she is and her personal story, she talks about race and racism, but as her mom's story. Like, she'll say that her mom experienced racism, but she'll never say that she did. She'll never talk about her career as a black prosecutor. She talks about, her mom would say, when you see injustice, don't complain, do something about it, right? That was a quote or something like that. But she's not talking about her experience as a black woman, She'll talk about it in general terms and things like that. I think it's obviously very, very mindful, very demure. No, it's very, conscious, right? Because she's trying to not be that diversity hire that they're trying to make her seem, but I think there could have been a stronger lesson of don't run from it, be overtly powerful in it and talk about it in a way, because it will resonate with people if you're authentic about it, That was my biggest takeaway, and that makes me concerned for what is a precedent that we're setting for candidates moving forward and the kind of rhetoric.
Whoa.
You like that? That was really
Make
cool.
a wish, make a wish.
Make a wish, yeah.
Okay.
What was the wish?
Find out at the next episode. If it comes true.
It concerns me for the precedent that we're setting for the ways in which we're going to talk about diversity and inclusivity in the Democratic Party. But that was my biggest takeaway. Yasmin, you can go.
Yeah, I feel like my biggest takeaway is just as the younger generations, like we have to be very careful with like the media that's being put out there, because a lot of it's really funny around this campaign. Like her TikTok is popping off. Like the memes are just so good, but I'm like, okay, we have to like, I have to center myself again. Like, let's meditate real quick and like, I feel like we just have to be more cautious and like careful around this, and yeah, just hold people accountable. Like if we want something, we need to ask for it and not feel bad for asking for it.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to your point, Hector. I appreciate your take. I think it was spot on. And for me, it illustrates that there are very, very finite limitations to intersectionality. All right. So you can only play that card for so long until the contradictions start pouring out of the surface, and you end up being in this position that Kamala's in, where she can't talk about her own personal experience as a black woman because it'll piss off the white voter in Nebraska. Okay, and that's a problem, and that's the limitation that you'll run into when you continue to play that card from Obama, from Hillary, and the CIA. But that's not my main takeaway. I'm going to bring this back to the immigration talking point that was shared during the DNC of the, I think it was 7 workers in Baltimore, right? And that when that bridge collapsed. I think that we should really stop pandering to the cliche hardworking migrant, okay? Because it commodifies us. It commodifies our parents, our tios, our loved ones. They are not just hardworking people that migrated here for a better life, okay? They have so much more dignity to give, to receive. There's a lot more to them than just a worker. Yeah. And I think that when they kind of get encapsulated in that sense, it opens the door to continuing the NAFTA policies, the imperialism that happens in Latin America, all over the world, right? But again, just trying to think about migrant people as anything but workers should resonate with us here, and hopefully everybody else, to humanize them a little bit more, because again, just kind of when they're hammering down this idea that, hey, they're just here working for a better life, I get where they're coming from. It's coming from a good place, but it's a double-edged sword where it does commodify them, and I think that we should be concerned about that. Everybody should be concerned about being commodified, but especially those that are most vulnerable.
Yeah, 100%. Ben, what was one of your biggest takeaways?
My takeaway is kind of more an observation on the social justice movement, the movement as a whole. Like I mentioned, I was at the DNC in 2000 in LA, and that was right on the heels of the WTO ministerial in 1999 in Seattle. And obviously it's not 1999, 2000. Summit hopping has kind of reached its crescendo and found its limitations. But still, the reason why we call it a demonstration, there's a reason why we call it a demonstration, right? It's a demonstration of power. It's showing what is the power of the organized movement, or even the unorganized, whoever it is that shows up, and we see a variety. We see the environmental justice movement talking about climate change. We see the immigrant rights movement. We see the movement against police violence. Of course, foreign policy, what's going on in now Palestine. And we see everybody coming together to make the point that another world is possible. That's what we used to be seeing outside of DNC, RNC, and the large, IMF meetings and stuff like that. And, it's just coming from that. That's been my political experience. Coming from that and seeing, police estimates of 5,000-6,000, which means it's probably double, but still is really low for such a big, political event. Even if it was 20,000, this very, very low turnout for, a possibility to make such an impact. It's sad. It's really sad to see that. And, if this was a different year, if this was a different convention, we should have seen, there's ICER in Chicago, right? They're like Chirla. They're like, the big statewide coalition. They should have been out there seeing, talking about immigration reform, and everything was overshadowed by Gaza, obviously, but still, that doesn't mean there's not room for a multiplicity of voices in the protest movement outside and inside too. Inside, the only thing we saw was that one banner, somebody getting kicked out for wearing a keffiyeh or something like that. Where's the voices of dissent within the convention? It's not like the old days. And to me, it just seems like our movement is in a much weaker place. And that's actually contrary to what an organizer should be saying. We should be projecting a spirit of optimism and, talking about how we're building momentum and stuff like that. But I think we also have to be sober when we make a power analysis of what's going on in our country and in the world. And it's really just, it's hard to be anything but sad.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I think a lot of people were looking back at the convention of 1968 and the blood on the streets of Chicago from all the anti-Vietnam War protesters, scared that that's what was going to happen now with the Palestinian protesters. And again, lessons that were not learned in the right way. It could have been, let's avoid that. Let's bring the protesters to the table, and even if it's like, let's negotiate terms, something like that, for the adoption of the party platform. Like, I don't know, like 2 pages basically saying our position on the Palestine issue is not going to change.
Okay, but what about if we give the police more money instead? What do you think about that?
That's also on the table.
Yeah, let's do that.
We have labor mayors for that.
And that's been the response, right? Because all they did was to avoid 1968. Instead of working with voices of dissent, all they did was just put more police there and train them in anti-escalation training, train them in anti-escalation. Yeah. Okay. Well, any other last thoughts about the DNC? Last reactions? Eddie, you talked last week to us about the contentious relationship that Kamala Harris has with her father. I think it was a big mistake in her speech I think she could have at least acknowledged that she has a dad who is because it was just my mother, which I understand how important talking about her experience was to relating to Kamala's career choices and all that. But I think it was a wrong choice to not even mention her father, regardless of the fact that they have a contentious relationship. But what was your reaction? Did you have the same kind of reaction? Like,
I feel like it was strategic in that sense. And yeah, I would have loved to see her acknowledge, where she came from both sides of her parents, right? From Jamaica. And I also think it's really interesting too. Obviously, none of us here are black, but the presumptive nominee and the presumptive president is going to be Kamala. She and like Obama, they're children of migrants. They're children of migrants. Their experiences are a little bit different than the black American here, and that also isn't coming to the forefront of the conversation, which I think is really interesting, right? They're doing a good job of masking that kind of band-aid because my wife is black and she notices that too. Her family notices that too. They come from a really different background, non-migrant background. So for them, looking at her and looking at Obama too is a little bit different. So I just think that there's a lot of, when we're talking about intersectionality, there's a lot of wounds and bandages that can come off between now and November. And the campaign's going to do its best to keep those bandages on to just make it to the finale, November 4th. But we'll see what happens. And I think they'll continue to put the Band-Aids on her dad. Yeah. And she's already being called Comrade Kamala. And, Tim Walz has his background being a teacher in China. So that doesn't help those allegations as well. I think I would welcome those allegations, by the way. I also lived in China, too. It's okay, Tim. It's not that bad of a thing. But I digress. Yeah, that's probably why.
Yeah, and it plays into the ridiculous rhetoric that's coming out of the Trump campaign that she's not actually black. This whole hiding of her black father and all that, it just plays into that. And going back to what I said earlier, the wrong lessons learned. Talk about your blackness. Talk about the black experience. Talk about your father, and say, my dad and I don't agree on a lot of things, and use that as a way of bridging gaps, of bridging a divide between her stance on policy, maybe with the never Trumper Republicans who are looking for someone else to vote, It could have been a useful tool for that. But anyways, any last thoughts on the DNC? Kamala Harris. Okay. So we can close that out, and now we're going to do something super fun. We're going to do a wrap on the funniest memes that came out of social media during the DNC. We have some printouts for those memes, and this is going to be kind of a game. So each of us are going to share memes. I only have one because I didn't really see that many funny things. But we have like 3 memes for each. If we laugh, then we all have to take a sip of our drinks. But if no one laughs, if you brought the group a whack meme, then that means you have to chug your own drink for bringing a whack meme. So Daniel, what are the first ones that we have?
Our producer's alive, y'all.
Just bring it. Daniel, our producer Daniel's gonna be on camera.
Who brought it?
This is meme number 1. Okay.
It says President Biden forced to stay up late to deliver farewell speech.
Chuckle.
I
laughed.
giggled. I giggled.
I giggled.
I
Oh,
giggled.
yeah.
It's ageist,
I
so
yeah.
it's inappropriate to laugh.
Wait, is this from actual TMZ?
Oh my God, it is.
No.
It's from
That is so
their Instagram
rude.
page.
Why did they post this?
Okay, I'll take a sip.
Yeah, on the Joe Biden. No, I did see something funny that I forgot to share with you guys. But during his speech, he like gets very forceful. He starts screaming like, "Who the hell does he think he is?" about Trump. And I was going into my reels and something came up and it said, "When your girlfriend's mad and you have to pretend you're mad with her."
Oh.
And it's just Biden screaming, "Who the hell does he think he is?" Everyone
That
laughed,
would've
so
been a
that
good
you
one.
guys have to
That
do
would've been a
another
good
sip because that was a good one.
That was
Does
funny.
that count as yours?
Yeah, that's my second one.
okay.
Now I have two.
Okay.
Okay, Daniel, what's meme number 3?
Here's meme number 3.
Okay, these are photos of President Obama.
How girls measure things for their apartment.
How girls measure things for their apartment, and it's President Obama doing those hand gestures, talking about crowd sizes, maybe implying something else.
He's a smooth
good.
drone
Okay.
operator. Give him that.
Do you guys want us to name who?
Oh yeah, we should.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So
okay.
who brought the TMZ?
I'm gonna guess this was.
Yasmin.
Yas.
Yeah, it was Yasmin. Okay.
It's not even a
Yeah.
meme. It's just a headline, but I thought it was funny.
Yeah, that is so rude. I don't know why TMZ posted that.
I was like, what is it?
Well, they're right wing. The second one.
That's also Yasmin.
Too easy.
I didn't know they were both her. I would have back to back.
You have to shuffle them, Daniel.
I feel like Ben's are gonna be more like, fuck them, you know.
I sent those ones. I did.
Okay, what is meme number 4?
Number 3. Oh, and number 4. Yeah.
Yeah, number 4.
Trump would be worse.
Trump would be.
So that's.
So is this Mel Brooks?
that's
the director
That's
of
Mel.
Passion of
That's
Christ?
Mel
Mel
Gibson
not
talking
Mel
to
Brooks.
Jesus from the Passion of the Christ scene.
Things
If
could be
you
worse.
know the reference, fuck it, I'll just chug. That was mine.
I know that it's Mel Gibson on the set of Passion of the Christ, but no. But explain it to us. What is the reference?
Okay, all right. So for context, all right. So, you guys are gonna show the picture. Okay,
Yeah.
it's Jesus Christ. He's super bloody. All right, he's covered in blood, and Mel Gibson's trying to tell him that hey, if you don't vote for Kamala, it's gonna be so much bad for you. And Mel is in complete clean clothes, like he looks well groomed. So this is the argument that a lot of liberals like to make, that if you don't vote for Kamala, this is what you're going to get. But they're talking to a Palestinian who is covered in blood.
Got
So
it, got
the
it.
hypocrisy and the irony is so rich.
Okay. I giggled after your explanation.
Yeah. Okay, I got one. Okay.
Okay, meme number 5, Daniel. We're very high tech here at La Coliseum. We have printouts.
Skip. Skip that one.
Nah, you skipped it.
Oh,
Daniel
was a
decided that
line.
was not funny for us.
I don't know.
7.
Okay, this is a
Whoa.
billboard of Congressman Pete Aguilar.
We just sent 24.5 billion to bomb kids in Gaza. Demand Congressman Pete Aguilar speak up. Call him now. 909-890-4445.
Call him.
Call him.
Is this an actual billboard?
This is Ben's.
Up in his district?
It's mine,
This is
yeah,
Ben's.
and it's not a actual billboard, but it might be soon. There is an effort right now
Interesting.
to either put bus advertisements on the side of buses or a billboard. The billboard is obviously more expensive, but
Awesome.
Did you guys watch his DNC speech?
Oh,
Aguilar's?
he was so
Yeah.
chummy.
So chummy.
Oh.
Highest ranking Latino, by the way, which is why they had him speak.
it
Highest ranking
hurts.
Latino in the House of Representatives, sorry. They had him speak on thinking that he would have something of value to say on immigration and all that, but it was a horrible speech.
It hurts.
Yeah.
He sits on the Appropriations Committee, and
Yep.
he loves funding Border Patrol. Anyways.
Yep.
I don't have anything to chug.
Aw.
It wasn't really
Cool
supposed
water.
to be funny. Oh. I'll do it.
Okay,
Take it
Daniel,
from
what's
the
the next meme?
I'll talk for you. Yeah.
Okay, so we're working on a ceasefire deal. It's Kermit the Frog and Kamala Harris. My brother in Christ, you are the fire. Just I love that.
Yeah.
They're essentially saying, girl, you have the power to do it right now. You don't have to
Yeah.
work on it. It's like that. Have you guys seen that video of James Charles? It's so stupid. But he's saying something so stupid. But he's like losing his mind screaming. And he's talking about like how this was when President Biden was still in. He's talking about like how President Biden gave a speech on like if you reelect me, I'll like restore Roe v. Wade, huh? Yeah. I'll restart Roe v. Wade, and James Charles is like screaming at the camera like, "You can do it now," which he cannot do it now. Obviously, we don't have too much of a majority. But it was funny, anyways.
That was mine.
Oh, you said that
Oh,
was
that
You
was
got the same
yours?
one too? Oh, we got the same one? All right, great. Mine's
Mm.
But
second
you were
like.
the one that talked about it.
Yeah, you actually said that
Yeah.
verbatim, yeah. So, you lose.
Chug.
Yeah, next one.
Okay, Democrats jumping from defund the police to elect the police, and it's a picture of Michael Scott. What does it say?
It says
Parkour.
Parkour. That one's
That's
mine.
funny. Okay, I'll do this.
That one's mine. I'll drink just because I want to drink.
It's hard for me to laugh because I didn't watch The Office, but
Wow.
It's
You've
like-
never seen The
I've-
Office?
That's an iconic scene.
Now you gotta
Now,
drink full water.
for that,
Somebody
you
give me a
should
minute
chug.
to
drink full water.
For that, you should chug. Why have you never seen The Office?
I mean, I don't like TV. I'm just not a TV person.
It's a documentary, though.
Okay.
Just got back from the centrist rally. Amazing turnout. Thousands of people holding hands and chanting, "Better things are not possible."
Yeah.
Things are impossible. Was that yours, Jasmine?
No.
Oh, that was
No.
that was yours. Oh, I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
That was funny. I think so.
Oh, I saw this one.
Okay, this is like a quad of photos.
I almost picked this one too.
I think they're just random people, right?
yeah.
No, these are delegates. DNC
Oh, these are
delegates
DNC delegates.
coming out of
okay.
like some after party or something like
And
that.
they all have their
And-
hands over their ears.
Yeah, because the movement people are outside just reading out the names of the children that have been killed in Gaza, and they're covering their ears because they don't want to hear it.
Oh,
And my
assholes.
comment was, just because they don't want to hear it doesn't mean it's not true.
Not only were they covering their ears, they were being.
This guy
like-
was being obnoxious. the guy
Yeah,
with the
they were
hat.
making
Yeah.
fun of it. It
And
was
so-
it was horrible.
What an asshole.
Yeah. He got outed though. He got doxxed.
Oh, he got dogs?
Oh yeah, he got
Super
doxxed.
easy. It was
Yeah.
like, yeah, delegate from Chicago. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's so rude. Fuck that fool. Like, he was really like
He was,
mocking
ma-
them?
he was making fun of them.
That
Yeah,
is
he was
so
repeating their
rude.
name.
Okay, what is the next
Okay, we're
one?
down to our last two.
I cannot fucking.
Oh, it's cheeseheads. Okay. The European mind cannot comprehend this. That's a bunch of people wearing cheeseheads. Go Packers, go. Probably from Wisconsin. Okay. I will drink to that one just because it wasn't mine, but it's
wasn't?
Packers. No. Who was that?
It was
it
mine.
That was yours?
Yeah.
Oh, that was
Go
yours.
Packers. Well, I was thinking maybe it was Tamara. She's a Packer fan too.
Did you guys see when Tim Wall's old like football team that he coached to? Well,
Oh,
I guess he
yeah.
assistant coach to a championship came out on stage.
I saw that, yeah.
You didn't see that? To introduce his speech.
Yeah. I know that he was trying to create that coach,
Yeah.
grandpa, coach.
Yeah, he gave that pep
teacher
talk.
image.
Yeah. At the end of the speech, it was like a pep talk. It was his like championship high school football team that came out to introduce him many years ago because they didn't look like they play football anymore.
Yeah.
That's the last one we got.
Happens to
And
the best
it's,
of us.
Hard to see.
Okay.
We could have used some better cropping, probably.
Ooh. Okay, this says
we alluded to this.
this is a lot of words to say. Nothing is going to change, and it's just
Yeah.
screenshots of a really, really long speech.
No.
It's
This
for the
is the
platform.
Democratic
Oh, it's from
platform
the platform.
on the
On Gaza.
Israel-Gaza conflict.
And it's
The
like several
Israel-Palestine
pages.
conflict.
but
Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah. Wait. Okay. I have one more though, but I have to pull it. I'll show
Oh,
you
the
guys.
video?
So this is Oprah in her convention speech. And she's referring to. She heard it already. She's referring to J.D. Vance, who was on Fox News on Tucker Carlson a couple years ago, talking about childless cat ladies in the Democratic Party. This is Oprah's speech. I'm gonna show you guys. Yeah.
To a childless cat lady?
Oh, no.
She's like, what?
She is
Oh
a
my
cat lady.
God.
So I'll send it to you so you can include it. But she's saying childless cat lady, and the camera like goes to this random woman in the audience, and she's like looking around because the camera is like on her and it's not like zooming away or anything. And I thought that one was funny.
Did you guys see this one?
No, I didn't see
Yeah, I saw that one.
it. I cannot read. Okay, it says me,
It's
It's Fred
Mr.
Rogers.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Mr. Rogers' neighborhood.
Mr. Rogers, and he's
And
flipping off both.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was really fun, and I think that was it for today, guys. Thank you very much. Please continue tuning into La Coalición Pod. Oh,
Look, continue.
Oh, okay. Please continue tuning into La Coalición podcast. We'll have a lot more episodes, especially now debate season is coming up. So we'll be reacting to the debates. We'll be reacting to the election. More things coming up. Also, the ICIJ 2024 annual gala is coming up, our 16th anniversary. And if you would like to attend, it's going to be in Redlands this year. Please go to the link that is on the screen. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.